let's get into some big story from within Nigeria, because there's no shortage of very shocking news in Nigeria, from insecurity to the latest horrific deaths at an illegal refinery. The political ecosystem is also warming up strongly as we speak, but the economic and business front is also grabbing a few headlines, and we are putting some of this into perspectives for you right now. My guest is the development economist, Professor Ken Ife from our Abuja studios. Good evening to you, Professor. Thanks for coming through. We appreciate your time.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. The president of the AFDB, Dr. Adesina, met with President Buhari yesterday and some of the top officials on both sides to discuss the state of preparedness of Nigeria to mitigate the impact of the looming global food crisis. Any new thinking on the block on what we can do?
Well, the background to this is that the World Food Program says that about 20 million people are going to be at risk of starvation. We also expect that about 8.5 million Ukrainians would go into exile at some point, although it's a much less now. And then we also know that the Russia's action on gas is going to affect even fertilizer. Fertilizer is going down anyway because the prices of fertilizer is going to go up. But that notwithstanding, of course, other grains are affected. A lot of those grains are affected. We know the wheat, but the thing is that Nigeria is not as vulnerable as most parts of Africa. Reason is that Dangote urea is out now. Over 15 companies are blending fertilizer with our arrangement with Morocco. So all those things about fertilizer shortage and the high cost and all that, we may not be hit as hard as the others. Then in terms of the food program, which Adesina was talking to the president about, we've seen a target of $1.5 billion. We've seen that about 5 million people are intended to go into this, and about 1 million hectares of rice, 1 million hectares of maize, and then about 250,000 tons each of hectares each of sorghum. And the thing is just really about continuing with what we are doing already in Nigeria. So our Anchor Borrowers program is really the model that they are going to fall back on to cascade across the Africa region, because that is proving a success. So I'm not going to say that we're not going to be affected. Of course, prices are going up, but I don't think we are going to be hit as hard as many African countries are going to be.
When you say we're not going to get hit that hard, where is your confidence, optimism coming from in terms of the level of what we've been able to achieve, and how much more still needs to? We have 200 million mouths to feed.
Well, yeah, I think we are feeding 300 million anyway. 200 million Nigerians and 100 million Francophones surrounding us, especially those on the frontier, northern frontiers. So we're already used to that. We're already struggling to keep up with the pervasive insecurity in the sea geopolitical zone, constantly shrinking our agroecology. But we are countering that with massive injection of money. 1 trillion has gone into the likes of Anchor Borrowers program, and 3 trillion have gone into intervention funds of all sorts across the whole spectrum of intervention resources. Now, the thing is that we've deployed modernization of our agricultural production system. We've deployed intensive mechanization, in those 15 presidential value chains. And the area that I would actually say Nigeria should focus on is to bring into use over 300 dams that we have up and down the country. And quite a lot of it in the southwest, but most of them are from middle belt up. We should bring them into so that at least we could do 3-season farming with those irrigation. So that would help. So with the mechanization, with the control on the seed and investment on all the inputs across urea and fertilizer availability, and much more targeted fertilizer to the particular soil. So we now have a really better blending than what we used to have before, one size fits all. We should deploy the water bodies that we have. I think in that way we can do more aquaculture, we can do more irrigation farming, 3-season farming, not just 2 in those agroecological zones where you have more natural rivers like Benue and Niger and all of that. So I think we should deploy more of those resources. We have them. We have many, over 300 BAMs in the country. So in that way, we'll be more comfort and on food security, and then more agro-industrial products to go for processing.
Okay, so part of what we need to, we have special economic zones, we have free trade zones. Now the BPE is looking to concession the ones, those free zones in Kano and Calabar to the private sector. How much more of such privatizations would you like to see across the various economic zones? And do you think they could be useful in pursuit of our agro-industrialization?
I think that is the way to go. You see, it never ceases to. I worry so much about why we have over 35 export-free zones, food processing, FTZ, and they're just not taking off. I think industrial infrastructure, free trade zones represent industrial infrastructure. Remember, that's how China started. China started by surrounding all its boundaries, all these borders with the river, all those lines. They have all the industries there, all these FTZ zones, all around China. And then it was only later that they started to move inland. So all the concentration were in it. And I remember bringing to Nigeria the man that had the most industry in China. He has 68 mega industrial parks in China. That is actually the way to go. We have to recognize that all these industrial parks are industry infrastructure. Yeah. So government should devote a substantial portion of our infrastructure to developing those within the zones so that businesses can go in those protected environments and produce. And if you're talking about like your solar power and other, push them to those zones so that they will add value and support productive activities. That is where we should focus a lot of the infrastructure.
Yeah, because now we're asking everybody to come in, even those in the healthcare sector. 4 European biotech companies says they want to set up in Nigeria. President Buhari says they should be given access and all of that, hand them over to the Minister of Health. They want to do vaccines, therapeutic materials and things like that. But here we are. We can't even deliver on the solar IPP project since 2016. The Mandela hydropower project is still hanging there, about 45 years down the line. So how do we power the whole agro-ally thing? How do we power the special economic zone, the free trade zones?
Well, if only 10% of what we are spending today on infrastructure can target the industrial zones, we'll be talking a different language, honestly. Because the last thing is unfair to ask companies to bring hundreds of millions of dollars from abroad and come here and use it to develop infrastructure before they actually get to producing what they were meant to produce. They won't listen to you. They go to countries where there are infrastructure. So we should focus on getting some infrastructure in those people so that they can come. And don't forget, some of them are coming to produce things that they will re-export anyway. So they go a long way. I think we need to prioritize those. And then whatever government FTZs that are there should be concessioned out. I know quite a few of them are private sector owned, but even then, government actually understands this. That's why they are now encouraging companies to take up to half of their tax to do the roads, the infrastructure connected to it. So they're already doing that.
Well, maybe the company should be asked to take part of their tax to do the electricity very well as well. Because again, if you're going to
of course.
Yes.
Of course. Some of them may be still classified as infant industries.
Yeah, quite a whole lot still needs to be handled. Thank you so much for tonight. Professor Ken Ife, development economist, for your thoughts from our Abuja studios. Thank you as always for coming on the program tonight.